Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show. We're broadcasting live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 5 days a week for your listening pleasure. If you subscribe for as little as $1 a month, you can subscribe for up to $100 a month if you really felt like it, and if you think the show's that really important to the survival of humanity, which it is, I'm telling you. We'll give you some commercial-free archives. So if you don't have the time to listen to it live, it cuts out nearly 30 minutes of listening time when you cut out advertisements for a 2-hour show. You know, it actually saves you time. So think about that. You compile that half an hour a day if you're listening that much, winds up being 2.5 hours a week over a month. That's 10 hours of your time that you've saved for like $1 a month. It's actually a really good deal. How many people get paid like $1 for 10 hours of their time? I don't think so. So go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com, donate or subscribe, because, hey, listeners are my employer. That's my philosophy. If you tell me to go interview somebody, I do it. Like I'm following your orders. Unless, of course, you know, the orders are completely unreasonable and you're nasty and insulting me and stuff like that. And in fact, that happened to me earlier today as well, Thomas. Somebody got really angry with me and flew off the handle because I don't know what I did. Like, I think they sent me an email requesting that I come on their radio show or something, and I didn't get it. Like, I'm more than a couple of months behind on answering emails, some longer. You know, I'm sorry, I'm just really overworked. Yet they took it as a personal offence and accused me of purposefully ignoring them, and then started launching into a tirade of abuse. I was like, what did I do? You know, I feel like Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm. What is the problem with these people? Why is it that somebody thinks they're so important that for another person to perhaps not listen to them or not answer an email or something like that in a prompt enough fashion for them, that it's some kind of personal vendetta against them? What is that?
They don't understand that, like, when you get a little bit of fame, even a little bit, you get massive amounts of emails and private messages. And it's very difficult. I mean, I've got a huge backlog, but I really work hard to try and be a regular fella. I mean, because that's what I am. I enjoy that. I don't want to be detached from other people. And I know you feel the same. It's just that I enjoy being just me. But when you open your email box in the morning, or you open your like a Facebook PM box, and it's like, 60, 50, 25, 40 messages there, it's very difficult to answer them in the course of a day. And I think their feelings get hurt if they don't. I don't think they mean to be bad, but I think if they realize just how many emails we get, it was explained to them, they'd understand. They'd get it, but they just don't know. How many demands are made upon you when you get a bit of a profile.
Well, I asked my listeners about this, and one of them threw up a familiar page to me. It's a Wikipedia entry on narcissism. And I remember it was a while back, Thomas, I sought your counsel because I saw this Wikipedia page and all these symptoms of narcissism, and I go, oh my God, I'm a narcissist. That scared the hell out of me. And then I went to you and you said, hey, it's just like the Alcoholics Anonymous, list of things. Are you an alcoholic? Are you an alcoholic? According to them, everybody's a freaking alcoholic.
Yeah, and everybody's narcissistic to some degree. Anyone who says they're not narcissistic is a liar. There's different kinds of narcissism. There's benign. I've got an article on my website about this. There's benign narcissism, and there's pathological narcissism. Benign narcissism would be something like what Bruce Lee had. Bruce Lee arrived in America. He wanted to be a star. He knew he was the best, and he was the best. And he achieved it. Is there anything bad with that? No, it's all good stuff. It's all great stuff. That's healthy narcissism. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad about that. He actually, he made lots of money, but he gave lots of people work, and his narcissism led to, Chinese people, Orientals in America having a much better image than they didn't have. Same Muhammad Ali, I am the greatest. Well, guess what? Muhammad Ali was the greatest. Case closed. Doesn't make him a jerk. I mean, there's a guy who, even with Alzheimer's or whatever he has, Parkinson's, spends the rest of his life working for charity. There's healthy narcissism, and then when it goes really bad, it goes really bad. So it's like everything in life. We always have to constantly self-refer ourselves, and this goes to when we're looking at people and thinking, is this guy or she a psychopath? We can't be assuming that they always are. We have to sit back for a second and saying, oh, well, maybe I just don't like them, or maybe they pissed me off about something, or maybe they upset me in the past and I'm being a bit harsh. So self-referral is the most important thing you can do in your life, both for yourself and both for your relationship with others. And yes, you're absolutely right with those Wikipedia pages. We all have those things. We've all demonstrated what one part in our lives, but they haven't run away. It's a difference between, smoking heroin once just to see what it was like, and then becoming a full-blown addict. It's, injecting yourself, in a shooting gallery somewhere. It's a different thing. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is a saint. Everyone is narcissistic to some degree. Yet we must exercise a measure of self-control. You see, we didn't come in this reality to be victims of it. We came into this reality to master it.
Yeah, I do believe that I'm one of those benign narcissists to agree. I've got a very high opinion of myself and I run myself down a lot, but that's just to keep myself in check, because unless other people criticize me, I don't really know how to, and I think that's why I make friends with such honest people that pull me up on everything, because I just fear I don't know, letting my ego take over or something. You know what I mean? Like, you want to surround yourself with other people that don't. Well, you know how big bad businessmen, surround themselves with yes men. I do the direct opposite. I make sure that I surround myself with half yes men and half no men, like half to be the cheerleaders and half to pull me up when I'm really going astray, sort of thing. And if I'm doing something right, they'll all be in agreement. But if I'm doing something wrong, half will say yes, half will say no, and I'll usually listen to the people who are saying no.
Yeah, well, and also in your business, an element of narcissism is a good idea as well. It's just how it is. I mean, it's hard to get on the radio 5 nights a week. You almost have to be your own cheerleader in a way. So that's not pathological at all. It's healthy. It's just part of what you need to do. Just like a footballer or a rugby player, before he goes out to play a game, he gets all wired up. He listens to the coach. They all pat each other on the back and they get all fired up. We're the best. We're going to win today. That doesn't make them evil. That's just what it takes.
Oh, and the huge quantities of encouragement you get from all these emails and messages, if you get the chance to actually go to them, is really kind of uplifting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, but unfortunately, when someone gets upset, it's just human nature to kind of remember that one, isn't it?
Always! I get like 60 messages saying, Vinny, you're great, I love your show, you've changed my life, it's been better, and one guy's a douchebag to me, and I forget about all the rest of them.
I know, man.
What the hell is that about?
I don't know, that's an insecurity kind of thing, isn't it, I guess? It's almost like we have an innate kind of need to want to please everyone, where a psychopath has an innate need to only please themselves.
Well, maybe there's a lesson to be learned from that. What is it? If you're trying to please everybody, psychopaths are only trying to please themselves. I guess it's actually really about being part of a community, don't you think? And if you're, let's say you're in front of a town meeting or something, and the crowd's roaring with laughter because you're cracking them up. Or, on the other hand, if they're roaring and just going, boo, boo, what kind of a different sensation does that have to you? And you'll always remember the boos, but you'll never remember the cheering and the laughter. And I think it's because that's a little bit traumatic Do you know what I mean? People tend to remember trauma much better. Like, I remember watching this television program, and it was talking about extreme weather events and its effect on people's memory. And there was this one lady who knew exactly what floor on the parking building her car was, exactly what numbered space it was, and exactly what colour the pole nearest to her car was, and exactly how far it was, right? Just because she got hit with a tornado that day, you know? And all of a sudden, all your senses and all your memories come aligned. And people often don't know the difference. Like, if you've been cheated on before, for example, and your new partner starts exhibiting similar things to your previous partner, you know, like working late nights, so on and so forth, you know, classic move by somebody who's cheating on you, you'll suddenly automatically start accusing that person of cheating on you because they've been shafted round before. All these bad things that happen to you come back. It's like we can't get over it.
Yeah, we're almost like, we almost like record our trauma and hold on to it very deeply. I think also that comes from our education system. I think the reason why we can remember a small amount of, we can be traumatized by a small amount of criticism in the face of overwhelming accolades comes from our education system, our indoctrination as kids. You remember, like, you'd get like those A, B's and C's and all these subjects, and say you get an F in French or maths or some other subject like that, and you're judged according to your negative, scores on your test sheet. This evil education system we have, I think that's what screws people up. I think if people didn't go to school, they would take the positive comments and the negative ones, with a pinch of salt, and just deal with them in a neutral kind of way. I think education is the real cause of that. The whole thing of exams and tests, and it's really screwed us up as people.
There's something the Greek says. He says the most degrading thing you can do to somebody is degrade them on something.
Yeah, grade, excellent. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yep, that's schooling. Schooling is psychopathic. I mean, state education. That was invented by the Prussians in order to like create troops in the 1800s or the 1700s, and that's why it was so successful that they battered the crap out of the French in the Franco-Prussian War. That education system was adopted everywhere. Testing, evaluation, grading. Smart kids end up becoming, tradesmen, become civil servants, and they become like lawyers and professionals. Kids who aren't academically as clever or artistic, they put them into trade schools. That was all invented by a sort of a very vicious Prussian aristocratic system back in the early 1800s. To actually create warriors, so they wouldn't, when you go into military service, they wouldn't require basic training, as they'd already been mind controlled and hardened up. And it was so successful for them in the Franco-Prussian War that it was actually incorporated to every single Western country after that. See, education is really damaged us in many ways, and it's also made us more vulnerable to the psychopath. That's one of the reasons they get us. There's two reasons why they nail us, right? Why they get us. One is because we've been softened up by the abuses of education, the over actualization of the left brain in terms of statistics, knowledge, times tables, and all this logarithms and nonsense you learn in school. That puts you in a position where your background perception, which has now been shown in the latest kind of neuroscience thing. I have an article on my website again, that your actual right brain is responsible for your background perception. Your left brain is responsible for your immediate perception. The reason why is if you were an ancient hunter at the side of a lake trying to spear a salmon, you'd have to also be aware that there might be a tiger behind you. I mentioned this at the beginning. But what's happened in our education system, brain lateralization has actually been damaged by the emphasizing of statistics and numbers, and this makes us very easy to control. And the other one is entertainment, love songs, sappy love movies, and novels. those two things together have softened us up so the psychopath is much easier to target us.
You know, what occurred to me when you were saying that, it's like a farmer domesticating cattle. Cows are pretty dangerous if they're wild, if they've grown up in their own environments and things like that. You know, they got horns. They'll charge you. They'll bull rush. You know, if you've ever played that game at school, you know, it's the same thing. If you get a calf from birth, and it's birthed into a herd of dairy cows who are very docile, who occasionally get electrocuted by fences, occasionally get prodded, but they more or less do exactly what they want, and they never hurt anybody unless it's really by accident kind of thing, so that the farmer can continue to milk them and eventually slaughter them and sell their carcass to a butcher.
Yeah. The sheep are like that too. I've noticed that the mountains, I'm in the mountains here, and a lot of farmers have sheep, and some of those sheep escape wild into the top of the mountains, and they're absolute bastards. I mean, the wild sheep will attack you. They'll actually come after you. The rams, they're very, very nasty. So it's just, that's what human beings are like. You know, they're like, we're sheep, or we're cows. We're domesticated on a tax farm called Earth.
Well, yeah, that's true. And they also favour the females and get rid of the males and the masculinity. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinnie Eastwood Show, broadcasting live on American Freedom Radio. Me and Thomas was just over the break just going, frack, it's nearly been 2 hours already. It's like, where did it all go? Just sort of appreciating, first of all, I got to appreciate American Freedom Radio. I mean, big ups to AFR. Those guys work a lot harder than I do. I only have to do one show 5 days a week. They have to do everybody's show 6 days a week. It's freaking insane the amount of work those guys get done. And they archive it all at AmericanFreedomRadio.com. They're not they're not messing around. And they do so much of it basically for nothing. And that's what's really spectacular about this network. And also, I really like the breaks, the ad breaks. Have you noticed, Thomas, how we've never really been cut off in the middle of a conversation that's only just starting to get going? It's more like you keep talking and talking and talking, the clock keeps going, and then, there's a break, right? Long segments.
Yeah, I've done FM and AM radio all over the world, and it's horrible. Literally 2 minutes of talking and then straight to an ad. This format is much better.
It's freaking ridiculously awesome. Why other people have not done it yet, I can't believe it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's so freaking irritating. Listening to the other types of talk radio without this kind of clock on it. It's just so much more easy to listen to. I mean, you get to really fully form ideas in a conversation, and actually it goes somewhere before you get cut off. As opposed to getting cut off before you've gone anywhere. It's insane. Yeah. Why do people want that kind of a format? I've seen some networks close down. I'll go on a guest. I think it might have been Orion. I forget which network, but they had a terrible ad structure, and it was just annoying the heck out of me just being a guest on it. Not because the host was bad or anything like that. We were having a good time. It's just constant interruption. And they were telling me that, hey, everybody's complaining about it, but the people who are running it won't change it. And then next thing you know, here's Truth or News. Radio network goes down for lack of money and support. Yeah. I don't know if that's related, but still. Anyway, totally off topic. Ladies and gentlemen, we've only got one more segment left with Thomas. So if you've got your hand on the dial, 218-339-8525, if you want to get in and ask him a question before we go to break. Other than that, we were talking before the break about how we're basically animals on a tax farm.
Yeah.
And the system's been set up for us.
True, yeah. That's what we are. That's the human race today, and that's why they call it human resources in a company. We're a resource, but essentially our nations, our countries, are psychopathic sort of structures, business structures, and your citizenship is little more than being an animal on a tax form, a revenue beast to a revenue livestock to produce, money for the actual control system. I mean, and we've got to the situation now. I was reading some horrific stories lately in the Telegraph in the UK, where some baroness there has actually said that people's patriotic duty would be to start killing yourself before you become a burden on the state. Because, when you get old, you get Alzheimer's, and we'll be spending all this money on healthcare to keep you alive. Well, when I read that, my attitude is I am a burden on the state, and I'm very proud of being a burden on the state. And I'm going to be as unruly and as ungovernable as possible. And till my very last breath, when I depart this reality, I will make life miserable for politicians and civil servants. So, thank you, Baroness, for saying that, because you've given me a reason why we should go on. And the reason is that the state is not, the state is subservient to me. I'm not subservient to the state, and I am your burden, and you better get used to it. And we all should be like that. I think it was Gore Vidal who said, the true mark of a patriot is someone who's very rude to their government.
Yeah. Well, this is the interesting irony here. Is that, you should kill yourself before you become a burden to the state. But the state's been a burden on my life my entire existence.
Yep, I mean, we were just talking about the education system there. There's a classic example of it. When we were kids, we wanted to play in the woods. We wanted to, play with our dog, have a good time, go fishing, go swimming, whatever, play football. And what do we have to do? Spend, many hours a day during the winter months and, most of the spring and the autumn being indoctrinated by the state. The state was a burden upon us. They owe us. We don't owe them.
Yeah. And they forced me to hang out with people who sucked and were boring and stupid and couldn't teach me a frickin' thing. The only thing school taught me is that I didn't want to go to school.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I had one or two good teachers, but the majority were absolute idiots. I mean, I hate to say that, but it's true. They were just not. They were school teachers because they couldn't do anything else. It was as simple as that. And they, the whole thing of you must be a good citizen. To me, the mark of a good citizen is someone who actually, ignores the government and does their own thing and doesn't harm anybody. That's the whole thing. Don't harm anybody. But yeah, you're supposed to be patriotic, and if your country goes to war or starts trouble on an ethnic minority, that's being patriotic. I'm sorry, no, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah. There's nothing that gets my patriotism juices flowing stronger than when we're picking on minorities. Now, the other irony is that when you get a whole bunch of minorities together and you get diversity, it actually divides the entire society along racial lines, but under the guise of everybody being accepting and playing together. Studies have proven that if a culture is basically mono, there's basically one culture or whatever, the amount of social disharmony and things like that is virtually nil. And now what's happening in this new great global village that we've got, talking about diversity and how good it is for everybody, crime's up. Oh, no, crime's not actually that up. It's all been going down. Fear of crime is up. Spectacularly.
Yes, but there's another aspect to that as well. It's not diversity that's the problem. It's multiculturalism, forced multiculturalism, that's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Human beings of different races, religions, and groups, if they're just not forced to tolerate each other, will live in harmony, fine. You look at these amazing melting pots, Lower East Side of Manhattan, East End of London, even Mumbai, all Hong Kong, all Singapore, all these different groups live together, no problem. It's only when the government gets involved and starts forcing this thing called tolerance on everyone, or forcing this political correctness on everyone, that the problems begin. Human beings of all races, when left alone, are fine. It's when the bureaucrats, the archons, when the civil servants, and when all these quangos, NGOs, and all these government projects to integrate, to force multiculturalism come in, that the tensions begin. And that they're run by the psychopaths. The problem is not the people, not the minorities, not diversity, but this need to force integrate them. That's the problem. And the reason, you see, psychopaths are very conscious of people's differences. We're not. Children, when they're born, you can put out children of all different races in a room, and they're all getting on fine. It's only when they get into the school system that they become aware that they're different religions and different races. That's when the problem begins. Again, the system is the problem, not the human beings.
Yeah, exactly. And we were having a discussion about race over one of the breaks, and we both kind of realised that, oh my God, if we were having this conversation as two white guys talking about ethnicity and things like that, we'd be hounded and louder, and attacked and demonised and so on and so forth for being racist. When we're just talking about race, we're not talking negatively about anybody at all whatsoever. Have no problem with people being from other ethnicities. What would be the problem? It's ridiculous. And what I found, and as you're saying that, socialism. I have seen a lot of socialist movements in this country, fighting homophobia, fighting racism, fighting this, that, and the other. And it's the exact symptom that you're talking about there, forcing tolerance. Yeah. Tolerate everybody, or else we're going to protest outside your restaurant.
Well, I've never met a socialist who wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I mean, you look at I'm probably going to flag, I hope no one in Ireland is listening to this. The Socialist Workers' Party in Ireland is made exclusively of people who have never worked a day in their lives. They're all doctors and lawyers, daughters and sons, who have this idea that socialism is like telling poor common people to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's nuts. Right. Well, anyway, like we were saying over the break, anybody who takes anything to an extreme is an extremist, right? And extremism doesn't really benefit anybody except somebody who wants all the power and control for themselves, like a psychopath. Thomas, today has been a really great show. Thanks mostly in part to you and the listeners for listening in. Thank you so much for doing so. And American Freedom Radio for putting on this wonderful platform to get the truth and different people's opinions out there for your listening pleasure. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thomas Sheridan Arts.
Thank you.
Yeah, ThomasSheridanArts.com is the website, and the VinnyEastwoodshow.com. And we'll see you again sometime. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show. We're broadcasting live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 5 days a week for your listening pleasure. If you subscribe for as little as $1 a month, you can subscribe for up to $100 a month if you really felt like it, if you think the show's that really important to the survival of humanity, which it is, I'm telling you. We'll give you some commercial-free archives. So if you don't have the time to listen to it live, it cuts out nearly 30 minutes of listening time when you cut out advertisements for a 2-hour show. It actually saves you time. So think about that. You compile that half an hour a day if you're listening. That
course of a day, and I think our feelings get hurt if they don't. I don't think they mean to be bad, but I think if they realize just how many emails we get. It was explained to them. They don't understand. They'd get it, but they just don't know, how many demands are made upon you when you get a bit of a profile.
Well, I asked my listeners about this, and one of them threw up a familiar page to me. It's a Wikipedia entry on narcissism. And I remember it was a while back, Thomas, I sought your counsel because I saw this Wikipedia page and all these symptoms of narcissism, and I go, oh my God, I'm a narcissist. That scared the hell out of me. And then I went to you and you said, hey, it's just like the alcoholics much. Winds up being 2.5 hours a week over a month. That's 10 hours of your time that you've saved for like $1 a month. It's actually a really good deal. How many people get paid like $1 for 10 hours of their time? I don't think so. So go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com, donate or subscribe, because, hey, listeners are my employer. That's my philosophy. If you tell me to go interview somebody, I do it. Like I'm following your orders. Unless, of course, the orders are completely unreasonable and you're nasty and insulting me and stuff like that. And in fact, that happened to me earlier today as well, Thomas. Somebody got really angry with me and flew off the handle because I don't know what I did. Like, I think they sent me an email requesting some kind of personal vendetta against them. What is that?
They don't understand that, like, when you get a little bit of fame, even a little bit, you get massive amounts of emails and private messages. And it's very difficult. I mean, I've got a huge backlog, but I really work hard to try and be a regular fella. I mean, because that's what I am. I enjoy that. I don't want to be detached from other people. And I know you feel the same. It's just that I enjoy being just me. But when you open your email box in the morning, or you open your like a Facebook PM box, and it's like 60, 50, 25, 40 messages there, it's very difficult to answer them in the course.
Did I come on the radio show or something and I didn't get it? Like I'm more than a couple of months behind on answering emails, some longer. I'm sorry, I'm just really overworked. Yet they took it as a personal offence and accused me of purposefully ignoring them. And then started launching into a tirade of abuse. I was like, what did I do? I feel like Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm. What is the problem with these people? Why is it that somebody thinks they're so important that for another person to perhaps not listen to them or not answer an email or something like that in a prompt enough fashion for them, that it's